Hey guys, Fritz here. I'm a Diamond Rengar player and I'm starting a series of Rengar tutorials to help people learn how to play the champion. This first video is going to be about masteries, runes, and item builds, and I'm going to go pretty in depth into everything, so it's going to be long, but bear with me, it'll be good. Alright, so with Rengar we take a fairly standard AD page with a small caveat. So we go 21 in offense, 9 in defense as a assassin. That's pretty typical. So we take double-edged sword. The 2% bonus damage is much more important than the 1% increased damage. We take CDR because we want to stack our CDR, AD from brute force and martial mastery. Spell weaving and blade weaving are both good because the Rengar combo has both spells and auto attacks, so that's going to give us a bunch of extra damage. Executioner and Dangerous Game to help us execute people and also come out when we have Ignite ticking on us. Take Warlord, 2 points of Warlord instead of Butcher or Frenzy or Feast, because the attack speed we get from Frenzy isn't that important and the heal you get from Butcher and Feast isn't really relevant. Since we're not in lane that long, we're not actually going to be healing that much, and I'd rather take the 0.35 bonus percent AD, which is going to amount to it's only going to be like 6 or maybe 10 AD late game, but that's still going to be a good chunk. That's still going to be, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 damage in a combo, which could mean life or death. And then we take Penetration. That's pretty obvious. We want to be able to get through armor. Havoc, that's just a flat damage increase. That's awesome. And in the defensive tree, we take Block and Unyielding. That's going to be less damage on basic attacks, and as a melee we get decreased damage on everything for Unyielding by 2. And Recovery, just some HP regen. Our HP regen is kind of garbage because Riot hates heals. Veteran Scars and Juggernaut for more HP. The reason we take Juggernaut is just so we can get an extra point, and it's not that good actually. Alright, and that's just finishing up the masteries. Now let's go on to the runes. Alright, so this is the rune page I run right now. I run 9 flat armor seals, 9 CDR glyphs, 3 CDR quints, and 9 armor pen reds. The reason I run so much CDR is because Rengar ferocity is super important. You always want to be gaining ferocity and putting yourself in a stronger position. When Rengar has 5 ferocity, he is much more of a threat. He has the utility from his heal and armor magic resist gain from his W. He has the root on his E, both of which are outstanding in their own situations. And by running this much CDR along with my masteries, I'm getting 20% at level 1. Now with my build, which I will get to in a little bit, with a single brutalizer and blue buff, that's going to put me at 40% CDR, which is right where I want to be. Now, you're probably asking, why not AD reds? Why armor pen reds? Well, Rengar, I build a lot of armor pen in my build, and by running penetration reds, this lets me do near true damage on the squishies, especially in the mid game if I do get ahead. Alright, so this rune page is a bit extreme, so I'm going to go through 2 of my other rune pages that I have run from time to time. Alright, so this is the one I was running before. It's very similar. The only difference is I switch out 2 of the CDR quints for armor pen quints. So I have 10% CDR with 15 with masteries at level 1, and then I have 5 more armor pen. And the difference is pretty obvious. It's just you have more armor pen, and this is better if you're going for a super armor pen heavy build with multiple brutalizers, and because then you'd be wasting the CDR anyway. Alright, and lastly, I have my, this is the rune page I recommend for new Rengar players, because the other ones, you have to be aware that without magic resist, you are vulnerable to magic damage champions, and you may not be able to utilize the CDR and armor pen as I would, because the laning phase is much easier with AD, because armor pen becomes better later in the game, but definitely early game AD is going to put out more damage. So this is what I would recommend for newer players. So you take 15 AD, which is 9 AD marks, 3 AD quints, these are all flat armor yellows, and then we're going to run Scaling Magic Resist Blues to give us 27 at level 18. So this is going to give us the most early game power, which is going to be the toughest time for a new Rengar player. Alright, so now let's get on to the item builds. So before you crucify me, I know how Ryanjoy builds Rengar with the 4 Dorn's Blades, Tiamat, into Last Whisper. I did that at the time. However, with my games of experience, this is the build that works for me and that I would recommend you to do. So there are 2 sets that I have. I have one for a more experienced player and one for a more novice player. And they're tailored around which room page you use and how well you're able to keep stacking items. So I'm going to take a look at the novice one first. So the reason we go Longsword 3 pots for a bit of early sustain into a Brutalizer. And the reason we go Brutalizer instead of instead of a Tiamat Rush is because since our rune page is lacking in CDR, we want to make up for that. We want to be able to get off early ultimates. And to augment our ultimates, we're getting Moby Boots. The Moby Boots are going to help us speed around and increase our effective ultimate range, because Rengar's base ultimate is actually pretty bad. Until you get 12 stacks on your Bone Tooth, you're not going to get very far in your ultimate. And you have to have a target picked out beforehand. You cannot go searching for people until you have 12 stacks. Alright, so then we're going to go for the Tiamat. The Tiamat is a huge damage increase because once we go over the combo, which I will in a future video, it greatly increases our damage output. Then we're going to upgrade our Brutalizer into a Youmuu's. The active is the reason we do this. The flat armor pen is nice too, and it is a huge bonus, especially if you're running the armor pen rune page. But the active is also going to extend our ultimate range by giving us move speed. Alright, so after this, with our novice build, we're going to go Ravenous. We're going to upgrade our Tiamat in the Ravenous Hydra. I don't do this on my experienced player because as an experienced player, I don't need the lifesteal. I can manage my HP fine with my Empowered W, and I'm not going to get super low. But as a newer player, I'd recommend going for the lifesteal. It's a lot more forgiving. Alright, it also gives us a bit more ID. Anyway, so next we're going to get our Last Whisper as a novice player. The reason we get this is because you may be hitting the wrong target. You need the armor pen now. People are starting to build some armor. It's going to help out our damage a lot. And we go for our Infinity Edge. This is where we start one-shotting people. We have big crits now, and with Youmuu's Infinity Edge, you do have around 35% crit chance. It might be 40, but I believe it's 35. After this, we go Static Shiv. Now you're gonna ask yourself, why Static Shiv? Well, if we get a crit on the initial leap with this build, we have the potential to one-shot without hit on the ground. As soon as we touch them, they're dead. And if we get the crit, we're also enhancing the static proc. Now, finally, we're going to get the Trinity Force, replacing our boots. By this time, we should have at least 3 stacks, and if you don't, well, first of all, this game has gone on forever, and even assists give you this, so you should have at least 3 stacks. So with this, we're going to have around 417, 415 move speed, even without boots, and the Trinity empowers our next auto. It gives us move speed, it gives us crit chance, it gives us everything we want. Alright, so let me talk about my experience build right here. And so I'm going to go over the differences more instead of go over the whole thing, because you guys got the gist of it in the novice build. So on our first back, here's the biggest difference right here is we're going to go straight for a Sword of the Occult. And why do we do this? I build Sword of the Occult every game. And the reason I do that is because if I get a few early kills, I can start snowballing the game out of control. And I can just take over it. And it doesn't matter how bad my team is doing. I will be able to kill anyone on the other team. Now, at 20 stacks, it unfortunately does not give us move speed anymore. But it does give us attack speed. And that's pretty strong in itself. Alright, so our next biggest difference is we do upgrade our Tiamat into a Hydra a bit later, and the reason we do this is because we could probably, by this point, you know how to manage your HP on Rengar. You know how to not get too low. The upgrade from Tiamat to Hydra, all it gives you is lifesteal and a little bit more ID, so it's not that big of an upgrade, and we can delay it till after our Youmuu's and Occult. Alright, so the next biggest difference is we're gonna instead of getting the Last Whisper, we get Phantom Dancer, because as an experienced Rengar player, we know the target we want to hit. We're going to be going after the squishies, we're going to be looking for the one-shots, and we go for Phantom Dancer instead of Last Whisper, because this is going to give us earlier one-shots. We're going to be able to kill the AD faster, it's going to make our Q more fluid, smoother, and crit is awesome. Ever since they buffed Phantom Dancer, I've been building it. Next, and this is kind of the last, if we get to like super late game, I will probably sell my occult and get a Last Whisper, but it really depends on what the NAB team's building. So right in the middle we have our elixirs, we have the Wrath and the Ruin. So I go between these two. It really depends if we're against a comp that I can't fight around, that I can't dive in on, that I have to split push really hard and try and get a pick. I'm going to go Ruin, because that's going to let me push a lot harder. And if I'm against a team that I can snowball like this, the Elixir of Wrath is a snowball elixir. It resets on kill, 30 seconds I believe. It's super good. Pick that up if you can. More lifesteal. It's awesome. Alright, and the last thing I really want to mention is Trinkets. So you can kind of see, I always start with the yellow trinket because it helps me have some vision play in the brushes, and also I can ward for an early gank. Though, as soon as I hit level 6, I'm going to switch that out to a red trinket, because that's going to help me roam a bit better, because then I'm going to be able to clear wards when I'm roaming with my ultimate. I don't upgrade it until I have to, because I want every bit of money I have going towards damage. My job is the one-shot people. It is not to drop wards. It is not to give my team vision. I want damage. I want to kill people. If I cannot do that, I put 250 gold and then I end up just a little bit short for a big item, I put myself in a horrible position, and it was because of my choice. I know Reddit, you see all these diamond guys and such saying upgrade trinkets, get wards. Well, no, that's not really true. If you have a good sense of awareness, an idea where the other team is going to be, you don't need this vision. You can tell where they're going to be just by how the other team is moving around, just by what objectives are up. And as such, I don't waste my money on things that aren't going to help me, because I already know where they're going to be. The only time I'm going to upgrade that sweeper is if our jungle is warded and I need to clear it so I can get to a position where I can ulti, or if the other team has stealth champions like Vayne or Akali that I need to kill.